In today's episode, we're going to use the concept of phrases to learn the classic jig, Cork Hill. Stay tuned. Well, hello everybody, I'm Matt Willis Bagpiper, and on this channel I make videos to make you a stronger and more confident piper. If you like this kind of content, please think about giving it a like, subscribing to the channel, and hitting that bell icon to be notified of when I post new videos. I also teach Skype and online lessons if you want more personalized instruction, but more on that later. There's a link to the PDF document in the description below, so go ahead, put that on a tablet, print it out, have it in front of you so you can follow along. A jig. We've learned some airs and we've learned some marches, but we have not yet in this basic series gone after a jig. Now, the first thing we need to play a jig successfully is to have good control of our G, D, E grace notes, and we just made a video on this, so check that out up here, the G, D, E grace note combination video, so make sure you can get that under control before we start into Cork Hill here. And also stay tuned for an upcoming jig called Cork Hill, which will be a minor key variation of this because one of my students misheard me and was a little disappointed that he was learning a tune called Cork Hill rather than Cork Hill. Well, as you can see here with Cork Hill, it's a rather long tune when you play the whole thing. It looks almost overwhelming, but I promise you it's not so bad. In a previous episode with Cor Holy's 43rd Welcome to the Northern Meeting, we learned the concept of phrases and how to use them to more quickly and successfully learn pipe tunes. Now in that one, I was going with a phrase 1, phrase 2, phrase 3, phrase 4 structure because each of the phrases kind of had their own basic feeling. But in this tune, the phrases are actually more thematically linked. And take a look. If you look at phrase 1 question and phrase 1 answer, you can see that up until the last full 6/8 beat, they're actually exactly the same. So whereas the question goes to a G grace note to E and then a lift to F, the answer goes to a C doubling and descends down to B. But besides that, they're the same. And you're going to see that that's true for each of the phrases in this tune, save the ending phrase. So rather than giving the ending phrase a number, I just called it the ending phrase because it's literally the same ending through the entire tune. Once you learn the ending phrase, you've actually learned a quarter of the entire melody. And then once you learn the question phrase of each of the parts, you just have to learn 1 or 2 extra beats worth of material and you'll have the answer section of the phrase learned, and this phrase structure of the entire tune is the same. So you have the phrase question, the phrase answer, the phrase question, and then the ending phrase. Question 1 and answer 1, question 2 and answer 2, question 3 and answer 3, question 4 and answer 4, and an ending phrase. And when you think about it like that, it's really not so bad. So let's take a look at the first question phrase here of Cork Hill. We're going to do a G, D, E pattern on low A. Then we're going to lift with a G grace note to an E, then up to an F without anything, back down with a G grace note from F back down to E. And remember, it's one up, both down. You don't want this one racing down before this one. They both should close together. Then we're going to head down to a C, tap that C with a tapping motion to separate into 2. Then here is where it becomes the question. We're going to go back up with a G grace note to E, and then a lift to an F. Play it at whatever speed you need, but know that the quarter notes, the E's in both of these bars are going to be longer. They're going to be twice as long as any given eighth note. Bum, 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 bum. Though ultimately in 6/8 time it would be bum, 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 bum. With 6/8 time meaning there are actually 6 eighth notes in each one of these bars, but you don't have to worry about counting all the way up to 6 every time. You can think about like 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, jiggity, jiggity, bum, 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 ba da bum, bum, ba dum. And if you've been with me through all now 28 episodes of the Basic Series, you should be comfortable with the metronome and some of these rhythmic ideas. But for now, if you need to count out the individual eighth notes, bum, 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 just understand that the quarter note will get 2 beats and the eighth notes will each get 1. For this example, I'm actually going to turn the metronome on. I have it at 130. Again, this is the eighth note equaling the beat at 130. So that'll be 2 beats at this tempo for that quarter note. If that's too fast, please slow it down, but keep it nice and clean and even. Now, let's take a look at the answer phrase. It's going to start with that same G, D, E on low A, G grace note to E, lift to F, G grace note back to E, down to C, separate the C with a tap, but now we'll do a C doubling and then down to a B. So again, it's just the last little bit that's changed. If we look at the actual structure of the tune, again, we're going to go back to the question phrase. We're not going to repeat that right now. We're going to go and skip to the next new phrase, which is the ending phrase. And the ending phrase is actually not dissimilar from the answer phrase of phrase 1, with the difference being we've replaced the G grace note to E with a D throw. And today we're going to be playing the light D throw. And there's a card up here to my video on the light D throw. But briefly, from a low A to do the light D throw, we'll just drop down to low G, raise to a D, down to a C, and back up to a D. And that phrase right there, again, once you've learned and memorized that phrase, that is 1/4 of the entire tune because it ends every part of the tune. And there you go, there's part 1. People are often surprised that in a tune like a jig, it's so lightly ornamented. Now, there are certainly heavily ornamented jigs, but many of them are rather lightly ornamented and have just note changes with simple gracings. I suspect the reason for that is that a jig ultimately is quite quick, and the more heavy-handed embellishments there are in it, the harder it would be to, well, play quickly. So the phrases in part 2 are probably the largest deviation of any of the music in the tune. Rather than doing a G, D, E pattern on a low A, we're actually going to play the A major chord arpeggio. Okay, we don't need to be that pedantic, but what we are going to do is play a G grace note to A, D grace note to C, so that motion can really cause some problems. You don't want this to come down early or you'll have a cross. You don't want to hear that low G in there, but you also don't want the D to be overly large and tonal. That sounds like a real melody D. Instead, as that pointer finger comes off, you want it kind of immediately snapping back to just give a nice little cha to the C so that it's kind of an emphatic sound rather than a tonal sound. And then from there, we go up to an E. Again, we want to make sure that on this change, boom, that we're not going down first. If you lower anything first, you're going to get a crossing noise to the E. We don't want that. And going from E to high A, there's another chance for a crossing noise because if you lower that ring finger first, you're going to sound that low A before the high A comes out. So that's right, everybody. There's a chance for a crossing noise on each of the notes walking both up and here next down. No. I have a video up here on how to avoid crossing noises if you find that you just can't get them out of your playing. Check that out. But it all breaks down to making sure that whatever fingers have to lift to make the note change, including whatever grace note fingers are involved, initiate the motion before anything else comes down. So from, again, A to C with a D grace note, you got to make sure that these are off before that pinkies come down. If the pinky comes down first, you'll have the cross. Then once you get up to the high A, you're going to walk down to an E, again, avoid the cross, and then down to a C. Again, avoid the cross. And then you're going to do that A, E, C 3 times in a row. Let's go ahead and give this a try. And if that's too quick, let's go ahead and slow it down. Let's put this down. That was at 130. Let's put it at, I don't know, 92. But before I'd even worry about a metronome, I'd play through this phrase, making sure that you've gotten it clean, no runs, no false fingering. And again, a false fingering is, say, you went from C to E and didn't bring these down. And no crossing noise, most of all, because the crossing noise is very, very evident on a set of Highland pipes. So get it down under control. Maybe without a metronome first, but when you can do that, find a speed that works for you. Try to keep it nice and clean and even. Let's look at the phrase 2 answer. You can see it's exactly the same through the first bar, and the first half of bar 2 is the same. And then instead of having to do another A, E, C, we're going to do a C doubling B, which is the very same answer we had at the end of the phrase 1 answer. C doubling B. Let's try that slowly first this time. And let's try it a little quicker as well. Back up to 130. And then again, you'll repeat the phrase 2 question, and then you'll play the ending phrase that was the same as in part 1, and it'll be the same through the whole tune. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to play phrase 2, this time slowly, at the 92. And again, it can be even slower for you. I'm not overly concerned about what the speed is on the metronome, just that you're playing with one. And then make sure to play its repeat as well. For the phrase 3 question, we're going to start with a G, D, E on A, then jump up with a G grace note to E, down to a C, tap to separate those. Then here we're going to do a G grace note up to F, and that's a pretty big change. Lots of fingers involved in that one. Then down to a D, tapping a heavy tap to separate those. Then another G grace note up to E, back to a C, and a tap. Let's go ahead, put this metronome at 92. We're going to keep it at 92. So for the phrase 3 answer, we're going to start with the G, D, E on A, then a G grace note up to E, to a C and a tap. And then here, rather than heading up to the F as we did in the question, we're going to again head back up to E, a C to a tap, and then a C doubling down to a B, as all of the answers have had. Sounds like a lot. It's not so bad when you hear it. Then again, you will go back to the phrase 3 question that we already did, and then end it with the same ending phrase as we've done for all of them. So now let's go ahead and try the third part with the metronome, remaining at this 92. And we'll go through this and hear how it sounds. And we're just about ready to wrap up this whole tune. So yes, it looked long, not so bad, just like I said at the beginning. So let's go on to part 4, phrase 4 question. Here we're going to do a G, D, E on low A, head up to a high A, down to a C and a tap, back up to an E with a G grace note, C with a tap, back up to high A, C, grace note tap. Let's try it. Then for the phrase 4 answer, same G, D, E on low A, high A, C and then a tap, G grace note to E, back to a C and a tap, and then your C doubling to a B. And then for the last line of the tune, again, we're going to do phrase for question and then the ending phrase that's been the same. Let's try all of part 4 at 92. And if you're following this basic series, you will know that by now we should have transitioned to the small pipes or practice pipes if you have the ability to do so. And it's fine if you don't, but this is a great time to start incorporating these melodies straight onto the practice pipes as I showed, or folk pipes, or shuttle pipes, or any sort of mouth-blown practice pipe. And if you need help with that transition, there's a video up here to help you with that. Well, there you go, everybody. Another tune on our journey to becoming Highland Pipers. I want us to have 10, 12 tunes, I'm not quite sure yet, somewhere around there, before we make the big jump to the Highland Pipes. And Cork Hill is a nice bit of variety after several marches and slow air. So, yeah. Get this up and under your fingers. Get it going well with a metronome. Get it under control. It's a great tune. Pipers everywhere know it. So, yeah, Cork Hill. Well, thank you so much for watching, everybody. If you got something on this video, please think about giving it a like, subscribing to the channel, and hitting that bell icon to be notified when I post new videos. I also have a Patreon where as little as $1 a month goes a really long way to helping to support the channel, and a special shout out to Ms. Carrie Tresek, one of my #1 supporters. But you'll see names now of folks scrolling up. These are people that contribute monthly to the channel. I'd love to add your name to this list. You often get early access to videos and other perks, so go check out my Patreon. I also teach Skype and online lessons. Go ahead and head over to www.commandyourbagpipe.com or email me at the address you see down here, and we'll get you going. I'm working with folks from all over the planet. I hope to work with you soon. I also have a line of Command Your Bagpipe merchandise with hats and t-shirts and mugs and all sorts of things. So go get yourself some merch and let the world know that you command your bagpipe. All right, everybody, I'm Matt Willis Bagpiper, and until next time, cheers.